Hey everybody, my name is Joel Goldstein. I'm here with Liz Adamson. She's with eAgility. Very glad to speak with you. You know, you're the expert on Amazon. I appreciate you spending your time with us.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. I'm excited to be here, excited to talk about some of the things sellers can do to maximize their Amazon sales.
I'm going to hit you with some hardballs, but I want to know exactly how I can make $1 billion on Amazon next week. So it's a multi-trillion-dollar platform. All I need to do is get 0.5%. How many times have you heard that?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? You know, 5 years ago, it almost was that easy. Like you could launch on Amazon and sales would start coming in and, you know, there was little competition. Nowadays, that era is gone. You know, when it comes to Me Too products, copying what everyone's doing, everyone's going to be chasing you. There's Chinese sellers everywhere, undercutting your prices. It's a lot harder now.
Now, I want you to repeat that because I see that a lot on my end, that when you come out with a Me Too product and you're trying to compete on a platform like Amazon, the biggest selling platform in the world, you know, it's hard to eke out a margin.
It is. You know, it's pay to play at this point on Amazon. Not only you're paying your monthly, you know, selling fees, you're paying FBA fees, and really to get any traction at this point, you have to be using advertising. The organic spots in search are shrinking. You know, there's not a lot of, you know, there's still the majority of the placements on the search page, but we're seeing them get whittled down. You know, it's a lot of advertising spots. It's a lot of Amazon promoted brands. It's a lot of other things. It's not as easy to get found anymore on Amazon.
Now, before we jump into the user questions, but I really wanted to ask, when you're getting started on this kind of a platform, is there a good way to go about getting educated initially? How do you jump in with a full mind, so to say?
And that is really key, is to make sure you are educated. I see way too many sellers just jumping in and making critical mistakes that just tank their initial chances. And so getting educated, there's a few things you can do. One is Amazon does have what they call a seller university that will at the very least educate you on the basics. And that is a good place to start if you've never been selling on the Amazon platform and know nothing about it. Amazon Seller University will show you where to find things and how to do things and how to get things set up properly. Now, that's not all you need, however. First of all, Amazon can give some bad advice if they start talking about strategy. Always beware if Amazon says, do this and do that and raise your price and lower your, you know, like don't let them dictate your strategy. Let them dictate, you know, use Seller University just to find out how to use the platform. When it comes to strategy and, you know, the actual decisions, day-to-day decisions you're making, you've got to find someone who knows the platform and talk with them. You know, whether it's a friend or a colleague, or you're looking for consultants or agencies to help you at least that initial getting started period and make sure you're not making any critical mistakes. But that's what we always recommend, that two-step process of, you know, get educated on the basics and then find some expert or someone with experience to help handhold you through the initial launch period.
Now, you mentioned the paid advertising, and that's really where it's going. But what about Amazon SEO? You know, it is a search platform. Search engine optimization is a factor. Is Amazon SEO still viable? And if so, what are a couple pointers that you can help out with somebody, you know, new to the platform on that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It is at its essence a search engine, right? It's a search engine for products. And we know that over 50% of searches, product searches, are all starting on Amazon, not Google or the other engines. You have to have that foundation ready. And that foundation is basically your product page. You need to have solid keyword research. You need to have solid copy that uses those keywords so that the search engine can at the very least index you for the keywords that you want to be found for. And I'm not a proponent of stuffing your title or stuffing your bullets or stuffing anything the customer is going to see. That's just a turn off. Because the second thing the search engine is looking for is not just how many people, you know, or whether or not you're using the right keyword, but they're looking at how many people are converting on your page. And so if you don't have a well-designed, beautiful page that makes sense to the customer, you're going to lose that customer, your conversion rate drops, and then you're still not getting ranked in search. And so it's a combination of being smart about the keywords you're using and making sure you're putting the customer first as you're designing that product page. good images, a good title, good search terms, use the A+ content. You need to sell that customer on your product. Now, if there are keywords that do not fit naturally on the front page, there are fields in the back end where you can stuff to your heart's content, and customers will never see those. Right. And so you've got to find that balance where you're both indexing for keywords, including misspellings and other things, but making sure that you're providing a positive customer experience once they land on your page.
Right. And how often does that algorithm change?
All the time. It's not something that Amazon ever publishes. They're very secretive about it. Okay. It takes a lot of testing by agencies and consultants who make this their, that's all they do is test and things on the algorithm. We have been noticing a couple months ago that something seems to have changed yet again. We think it's gone from weighting primarily total volume of sales to weighting conversion rate a little bit more heavily, which is why I'm talking about, what your product page looks like. Mm-hmm. So anytime you see those shifts, Amazon's probably made a back-end change and they're not going to publish it. But really, we always go back to just if you employ a very solid marketing strategy, and if you think about the fact that Amazon's number one priority is to sell products and really primarily please its customers. They want to show customers what they're looking for, the price they're looking for it, that's a quality product that's not going to break on them. So if you as a brand owner are sourcing high quality products, you're creating a high quality product page, you're providing whatever support needs to happen after the fact. Having those basics in place will help you succeed long-term on Amazon instead of just, trying to hack the system and use gray black hat tactics to try to get ahead. You'll be successful if you're creating a solid customer experience.
Now, how would somebody stay up on those search preferences because they change so often?
Again, we'll go back to, find a core group of experts or consultants to follow. There's Facebook groups, there's blogs, there's articles. Looking for people who are reputable and not just trying to sell you the latest hack that, hey, we just found this hack that will guarantee you page one. Beware of all those promises of we will guarantee you page one search. Right. But look for those experts that have been in the field a long time and are promoting just as, 100% white hat tactics, that are based on solid, sales and marketing principles.
Now, of those white hat tactics, what are the most profitable, marketing strategies that you could do, on and off Amazon that make a difference?
Right. So in addition, once you have that foundation of your solid product page in place, it's ready for that traffic. Your next step is to jump into advertising, both on and off Amazon. The core part of the advertising will be Amazon sponsored product ads. You can't succeed on Amazon nowadays without running sponsored product ads, or at the very least, you're going to be missing out on a lot of sales. Making sure you're understanding the Amazon advertising platform, starting with those products that are there, using them wisely and in a way that makes sense for your business and your profit margins. And then when I start talking about off Amazon marketing, I always tell my customers, my clients, that you should really be working on building your brand and promoting your brand. People should know, if they're, on social media and they're seeing someone talk about your amazing, running shoes or whatever the case may be, they're going to see you in social media. They're going to see you other places on Amazon. Then they're going to go to Amazon and start searching for you. And so if you're kind of just creating that brand awareness, that promotion effort, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, or you've got a solid website that you're running Google ads to, whatever, it's going to be different for different brands, what platform works for you, but, working to develop that outside, that off Amazon brand presence, that will help with your Amazon sales.
Do you ever advise somebody to jump into my world, the independent retail world, with the in-store? Is there any way that those two kind of things go hand in hand, or are they just completely separate worlds?
The retail world and the Amazon world are not separate. We see a lot of first of all, I mean, how many have you seen customers standing in the aisle of a store and checking prices on their phone?
Right.
And one thing you can do to help not lose that sale, if they're in your store and they pull up Amazon, they go, oh my gosh, it's $5 cheaper on Amazon, add to cart, off I go. We see actually, I saw a news article a few days ago, I can't remember which brand it was. It was some sort of snow gear company or winter clothing. But some of these brands are actually starting to launch stores where it's an inventory less store. Yep. It's more of a showroom where customers are coming in and to be able to try on the items and things like that. When it comes to Amazon, if you have, and depending on, what kind of products your store is selling, but working with that brand that you're buying from to make sure that find out if they've got a MAP policy and is it being enforced on Amazon? Because if you start seeing Amazon's price eroding past what all the other retailers are are selling at,
right,
you're going to start bleeding sales to Amazon. If you're a retailer working with a brand who's not on Amazon, or maybe they're looking to kind of clean up their Amazon presence, maybe there are too many resellers on Amazon and price is being eroded, right, you can work with that supplier to create an exclusive relationship and say, hey, I will be not only your retailer here in town XYZ, but I will be your Amazon retailer, and I will work with you to make sure your brand is properly represented, to make sure we're adhering to MAP pricing, and to make sure you're happy with the way your product looks on Amazon. So creating kind of an exclusive arrangement like that as a retailer can help you, not only reap the benefit of Amazon, by gaining sales from the Amazon platform, but also keep you from losing your sales to Amazon if there's other retailers there, selling at a lower price or whatnot.
That's interesting. Can a brand from the independent retail space that's maybe doing well locally, that grew from a farm stand into a local retail store and maybe is looking to expand, can they jump on Amazon and compete with national and international sellers?
Absolutely. One of the things we've actually seen is with these national brands that are just huge conglomerates, they actually don't use Amazon very well, to be honest.
That's interesting.
It's starting to change. We're starting to see them becoming more aware of the Amazon channel and putting in a little more effort.
Right.
But many big brands, they're just not paying attention to it. So they don't have advertising running. They don't have amazing product pages. They're not using storefronts. They're not using A+ content. And so you really do have a leg up, and that's why Amazon has really grown as a platform. Is over 50% of their products sold are coming from small sellers who are either sourcing products or creating products their own. It's their own brand or private label or whatever the case may be. So there is definitely a place for smaller brands and smaller sellers on that.
So there's still opportunity there. Now, what are some of the kind of the hidden costs, the hidden fees, the things that people don't normally associate with Amazon that maybe they'll get caught on the back end?
Yeah, you need to be watching your, we usually recommend, there's a few exceptions, but we usually recommend to sellers that they're using what's called FBA or Fulfillment by Amazon. That's where Amazon stores and ships all of your inventory for you. And it gives you the Prime badge. It has competitive pricing compared to other 3PLs. And we often see people get a 30% increase in sales when they start using FBA simply because they've got that Prime badge and Amazon shipping same day and next day and all that. With FBA, however, you do have to make sure you understand how you're being charged so that you can make a decision if it's actually going to be good for your bottom line or not. Sure, it might increase top line sales, but if you're shipping large, oversized products, if your inventory turns very slowly, in a number of other factors, you could be hit with some massive FBA fees, specifically the storage fees. Amazon does not want to store your inventory indefinitely.
Right.
If you've got giant, ping pong tables or whatever it is, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg because that's a large item. So those are kind of the things you want to be watching for if you're using FBA. The other things to be aware of is, we really do encourage all sellers to be using Amazon advertising platform to some extent to promote their product. But again, it is very easy to spend on advertising without getting a return. And Amazon's best practices and advice to sellers usually really only just encourages spend, and Amazon's not actually helping sellers balance spend with revenue and be focusing on things like ROAS and return on, that return on ad spend.
It's funny how that works.
So advertising, while it should be used, it needs to be used very carefully, and you should be ignoring all of Amazon's advice on how to use it.
Interesting. How can off Amazon pay-per-click and Amazon work together?
Amazon actually just launched something called Amazon Attribution. It's very much in beta, and so it's a little like we're not terribly pleased with how it's reporting stuff. But it'll get better. It will. Amazon has a history of launching things half-baked, and then they continue to develop and get them a little bit stronger. What Amazon Attribution is for the first time in all the years I've been selling on Amazon, sellers can now advertise with Google ads, Facebook ads, whatever ads they want off Amazon advertising. The Amazon attribution platform will create a custom URL that they use in those ads. Okay. And then you'll actually get metrics for and like I said, before this year, we never were able, you would run a Google ad, right. You would throw it into Amazon, and you were completely blind as to what kind of return you were getting. Yeah. So getting into that Amazon attribution beta, which I think you can fill out a form on Amazon and ask to be included in that. Again, it's buggy, but any off Amazon advertising you're using, you should be using the attribution platform. If for whatever reason you're not in that platform, Amazon Storefront, again, you have to be a brand owner actually to use Storefront. So if you're not a brand owner, that's not going to be available. But Storefront is another way to get some data on how your ads are actually performing for you.
Interesting. And what about enhanced brand content? I've heard about that before, but I don't really understand it.
Absolutely. So enhanced brand content has recently been renamed. It's called A+ content now. And what it is, it's if you scroll down that Amazon product page, mm-hmm. and I'm thinking of the desktop, it's a little bit different for mobile, but as you get about halfway down that product page, typically historically, I should say, there has been a paragraph text-based product description, that a customer would then have to read to get more information on the product. A+ content or enhanced brand content replaces that text-based product description with graphics, whatever infographics, or other types of graphics, images, comparison charts, so it becomes more of a visual experience for the customer, okay. Which is going to increase things like conversion rate because you're able to communicate your features and benefits a lot more quickly in a visual manner than you are if you're forcing someone to read a paragraph, full of your features and benefits.
Got it. So it's more of a flyer instead of a novel.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. That's a really good comparison. Yeah, we highly encourage, and you do have to be brand registered to use A+ content, meaning you're the trademark brand owner. Okay. If you're not the trademark brand owner, let's say you're a reseller working with a brand, if you have an exclusive relationship with that brand, they can delegate you as their brand owner, and then you can get access to things like that.
But that has to be federally trademarked?
Yes. Yeah. USPTO. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And how do sellers fall short when they go through that platform and they get that enhanced brand? Where did they screw up?
The biggest mistakes I see is they're not, maybe they're not using smart graphic design. They're maybe just throwing up more pictures of their product, and then they're writing several long paragraphs to talk about it again. So that's not smart use of it. You really do need to hire a solid graphic designer who understands e-commerce, and can create actual infographics. Some of my favorite ones are, say there's you've got a picture of your sunglasses, and then you've got kind of bullet points on that graphic pointing to different features like UV coating or, whatever the case may be. Yeah. And using graphics to really just highlight features and benefits. Because again, you don't want to force them to read, and you don't want to use just pictures of your product. Again, you have to actually use those images to communicate value, your features and benefits. Okay.
And really, what strategies aren't working anymore? Now, you kind of covered what's going on now, but there's a lot of information out there online. And that's why I think it's important for somebody to use an experienced guide, a mentor, a consultant to try to help them navigate that, because there's a lot of bad information that might have been good 5 years ago. But what strategies do you see that people are still doing that have absolutely no relevance or might hurt them?
Yeah, there's a few things. The two that kind of come top of mind first are, one is keyword stuffing. And you'll see it all over Amazon. There's people with titles a mile long because they just keyword stuff the title to death. That's not helpful anymore. That includes with the back-end search term fields. Before, you could put into up to like 5,000 characters in the back-end search terms. Amazon's now put a hard cap on that of 250 characters, and that includes spaces. If you exceed those 250 characters in the back-end search term field, you actually run the risk of de-indexing your whole page. Wow. And so you've got to be careful with, you can't just blatantly keyword stuff, everything under the sun. You've got to be smart about the keywords you're picking and stick within those limits that Amazon has outlined. Another tactic that, historically worked really well for brands that Amazon is seriously cracking down on is how you curate your product reviews. 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it was common practice and best practice to create giveaways. I'll get, hey, we'll send you out free products or discounts or coupons if you go leave us a 5-star review. And that was very popular. Every time someone launched, they were selling products for 90% off as long as the customer left a review. You'd get this 90% off discount. Amazon banned that about 2 years ago. Any sort of incentivized reviews can get you suspended from Amazon. And that includes getting reviews from friends and family, from your employees. That includes you leaving reviews on a competitor page. You're not allowed to do that. That includes even just reaching out to past Amazon customers and say, hey, we'll give you 5% off if you come back and leave a review sometime. Like all that is banned. Amazon does not want any reviews that are even slightly incentivized, because as soon as you start paying people or offering free things, they start feeling like they have to give you a positive review, and that's what Amazon's trying to avoid. There's a lot of problems going on right now because it's still best practice to send out an email after the order, and Amazon allows you to do that still, as long as you are not saying the words like leave us a 5-star review, leave us a positive review. It has to be, hey, hope you had a great experience, feel free to ask any questions. By the way, please leave us a review, just a very neutral request. In fact, I was just emailing some partners this morning trying to get more clarity on this. Amazon started suspending sellers even for some of those very vanilla review requests.
Really?
And we're trying to figure out what on earth is going on with Amazon, and if policies are probably starting to change there. I'm seeing a future where we may not be able to email customers at all unless it's critical to filling the order, like, hey, you want us to paint your kid's name on this? What's your kid's name? Things like that. So the review process is something that has been evolving quite a bit over the last 2 years, and it's going to continue to change. And you've got to be very careful whose advice you're listening to on how to properly solicit product reviews once you've launched your product.
Well, that was going to be, where I was going to go next. How do you organically get reviews? I buy stuff on Amazon all the time. Yeah. Maybe I left 3 reviews, over the years. Yeah. So how do you do that? Like, you're getting thousands of sales and you get 2 reviews, and the reviews that you do get are probably going to be negative because those are the only people that, go back. So how do you do that?
It is difficult. The review rate is between 0.25% and 1%. And so part of it is really a numbers game. You sell 10 products, you're probably not going to get a review. You sell 100
really?
products.
1 in 100 people review at most.
Yeah, that is very average. And so you got to manage those expectations and realize you're just not, it's going to come slowly. Amazon's done a few things while they've been cracking down on how sellers solicit reviews. Amazon has started providing tools that are, within their systems to help them gather reviews more quickly. One of them has been around for about a year, maybe 2 years. It's called the Early Reviewer Program. Okay. You pay $60 to Amazon. You tell them which product page you want to get reviews for. And it doesn't matter how many SKUs are on that product page. If you're selling clothing and you've got, 5 colors and 10 sizes, whatever, It will cover all of that. So you tell Amazon which page you need reviews for. What they do is after someone buys the product, they'll send out the email for you, and they'll incentivize the customer for you. They'll give a small gift card to customers who leave reviews. And then once you get 5 reviews, then Amazon shuts that down. So you're basically paying $60 for 5 reviews. Okay. They're launching, in fact, just 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, they launched within Seller Central the Amazon Vine program. Before, Vine was only available to vendors like the big brands who sell wholesale to Amazon. Right. Vine is now available to sellers. They're rolling it out very slowly. I'm still fuzzy on some of the details, so I can't talk extremely intelligently on what it costs or how it works or things like that. But from the summaries I've read is as long as you have less than 30 reviews, you can participate in what they call the Vine Marketplace, which means that Vine reviewers are those reviewers on Amazon who Amazon has deemed as being the most professional, the most outstanding, the most comprehensive, the most honest, things like that. And it gets a little extra badge. You'll see Vine next to some of those reviewers. So you'll have access to that Vine marketplace. And so those Vine reviewers who are practically professional reviewers, if they see your product in the marketplace, they want to review it, they'll request it. That product ships out for free to them. They use the product and then leave usually a very lengthy review on what they think about it.
Interesting.
And so that's becoming available to sellers, it's very interested to see how that works as that starts to roll out more broadly.
Yeah. Is there any magic bullet, besides time? Is there a way for somebody to get started and scale up fairly quickly on Amazon?
I will say it takes time. It takes about 6 months for us to feel like we have solidly launched a product. Okay. And so you do have to keep that in mind, that you're not going to get to page 1 overnight. It's going to take, a lot of investment in advertising. Usually those first 6 months, you're breaking even on things like advertising and whatnot as you try to get to those top of search results. So really time is a critical factor. If there is a magic bullet, it would be advertising and marketing. Because the way the Amazon algorithm works is you only get to page 1 if you can show Amazon that people want to buy your product. Well, if you're not on page 1, how do they even find your product to buy, and how do you convince them? So it is a catch-22. And so if you do want to launch as quickly as possible, which is that 3 to 6 month range, you do need to be investing in advertising and marketing, whether it's offsite traffic, whether it's Amazon advertising engines, things like that. You are responsible for driving your own sales until the Amazon search engine has become convinced that, oh, this is a great product. I will start to put it on page 1 now.
Interesting. So what major shifts are coming up kind of in 2020? What can we expect? Is this a good time for somebody to approach Amazon with a product, or should maybe they wait?
It's always I wouldn't say it's a bad time to be launching or that you should wait or anything like that. The market is just going to continue to become more and more competitive, and when I say when you're launching on Amazon, look to find out who your competitors are. Can you compete with them? Right. Or is everybody lower priced than you? Or do you have a product that fills a niche that isn't being served on Amazon? So be smart about what products you're launching on Amazon. Don't start launching those Me Too products. Don't launch if 500 sellers are all selling this exact same thing at a lower price than you can sell. So be smart and wise about what product you're launching. Some of the big shifts and changes we are seeing for 2020 is Amazon. We saw that all this year, and it's going to continue into next year. Amazon is doubling down on advertising. And it is truly, I've said this before, and I'll just say it again, it is truly becoming a pay to play. You will not survive unless you have the marketing budget to spend on ad dollars. And
the
that
margin.
Advertising. And the margin, you need that margin. Yeah, if you've got less than a 30% margin, you're going to struggle. In fact, you may not be profitable at all on Amazon. We like to see people with at least a 50% margin. That will give you enough, cash to be able to spend money on advertising and still bring some money home. The advertising, it has morphed from a very simple pay-per-click, bid on a keyword and your product gets shown, to as complex as video ads just launched this last 2 months. And so now there's video ads being shown in search. There are ads. Amazon is working on developing. They have a platform that runs advertising off of Amazon. Historically, it's been very expensive. It's a $15,000 minimum monthly ad spend. And they are working on creating a watered down version, I would call it, with lower minimums that, sellers were just getting started to use. And what it does is it looks at your product, whoever visits your product page, if they leave without buying, Amazon starts sending ads to them off of Amazon to try to bring them back in. And so that's one of the biggest things that we're keeping our eyes on for 2020 is how Amazon's going to leverage and allow smaller sellers to use these remarketing platforms that will drive Amazon's or drive customers outside of Amazon back onto the platform using Amazon's external programmatic display inventory.
Now, if a brand is selling in retail, they're doing all right, they have a base, but they want to be on Amazon, and they approach a consultant, what should they have when approaching a company like yours that will make it a very good discussion where you can be productive and you'll both know if it's the right fit before moving forward?
That's a really good question. I'm going to ask a lot of questions about your sales, how many products you have, and you don't need to open all of your books and show me your P&Ls. I'm not going to get that deep, but I'm going to want to know how much volume you're doing. I'm going to want to know what your best sellers are. I'm going to want to know if you're aware of who your competition is. I'm going to want to know your marketing budget, and I'm not asking that so I need to know if you're even going to have a chance to be successful on Amazon. And so I need to know how much you're willing to spend to do that. And so be prepared to answer questions about your budget, about your current, average monthly or annual sales, about your customers and your audience and who you're trying to reach and why you want to sell on Amazon. That will help us determine if there's holes that need to be plugged, if you need more than just basic services, if we need to come up with an entire brand strategy, things like that. We want you to be successful, and the more information you can give us on, current success or right. Or lack of success you're having will help us determine what the next steps are for you.
Now, how much is it going to cost to be a good player on Amazon? You say it's pay to play. If I'm doing a $10,000 a month offline, is that going to cost me $10,000 a month online? How do I know at what volume sales offline is a good time to approach this kind of an online platform?
We are usually looking for about $1 million in annual sales for a brand, in other channels. That kind of shows that, hey, there's been some momentum building. You've got a solid base of customers. People like your product.
You have your supply chain in line.
Exactly. You've got things established and all your ducks in a row and you're ready to go. And then we usually expect you to spend. And so, from that, we can start to forecast, okay, what are Amazon sales going to look like based on competition, based on pricing, based on all this other stuff. We kind of forecast that out. And then we're going to recommend that you spend 50% of those forecasted sales on advertising in the first 3 months. After that, it starts dialing back. So after the first 3 months, we can start dialing back that ad spend. Ultimately, we want to get to about a 10% of ad sales on ad spend. But those first 3 to 6 months, it's not going to be profitable. And so you've got to make sure you've got the cash in hand to be able to promote and do that. And again, that's about 50% of your forecasted Amazon sales.
That's the same as somebody goes into a regional grocery store. You have to pay a slotting fee. You have to pay some kickbacks, promotions. There's fees on every side. But it's good to know, and I really value your experience. So thank you so much for taking the time to educate everybody today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun being here. I love talking about this topic. It's one of my passions. So thanks again for having me on.
And we've included all of your information below to your profile. So if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to reach out to Liz. She's been awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.